The Dreamer, Chapter 4. Notes. Captain unexpectedly intriguing. Great asset as a guide and as a colleague. Compelling case study. Suffered significant difficulties in childhood. Association with pirates, a possibility. A moan of real distress reached me deep in the bounds of sleep. I opened my eyes, finding the room dark. In the shadows, Captain Tucker lay on the floor with a single blanket. He struggled and he moaned, trapped in a sort of nightmare. Pushing the covers off of me, I trembled with cold that assailed my legs. I stood, wincing at the pain in my side. Gingerly, I knelt beside him on the icy floor. I touched his elbow. "Captain?" I said. The moonlight was dim, but I could see the hard planes of his face were moist and strained. He muttered, and it sounded like the word fire. I took hold of his arm. "Captain! Captain, wake up!" He opened his eyes. They were foggy and unclear. He looked at me and blinked, his face full of disbelief and tenderness. "Mother?" he whispered. I released him, and I stepped back. He watched me, and then his eyes widened and became afraid. I moved forward again, and I yanked his arm with all of my might. "Captain, wake up!" He jerked awake, and he sat up with a start. He was damp with perspiration, and he was trembling. He put an unsteady hand on his head. I gently pushed him back against the pillow and pulled his blanket over him. He submitted to me. I moved stiffly. The wound at my side, though not serious, caused me pain. I gave him water, and he gulped down the liquid but didn't seem satisfied. His hand was hot when he handed me the cup. My hair fell around my face, swinging freely like a cape when I bent to take the cup from him. He caught a lock of it with his hand, looking at it in his fingers as though he didn't quite know what to make of it. He held it tenderly, feeling it between his fingers before letting it go. Silent and watchful, he seemed to be trying to make sense of his surroundings. I gingerly sat on the edge of the warm bed. "Why do you sleep on the floor?" I asked him. He shook his head as though to clear it. "I am going mad," he muttered under his breath. His eyes went to my bare feet, his face suddenly impassive. "There's no other option," he answered. "There's not another cabin for you?" I was very, very interested. "No, Miss Madeira." He said my name oddly, as if he was assuring himself. He shifted as he became more awake, his voice slightly aggressive. "I won't touch you if that's what you're worried about." I looked at him, examining him critically as I did specimens through a microscope. "I'm afraid I detected a fever," I said. "You should not be on the floor with a fever." He seemed surprised momentarily, and he shook his head. "Forget it." "Really, Captain, don't let it concern you." "But I told you there's nowhere else." All the tenderness and confusion might have never happened. He was back to normal. He was angry, impatient with me. And it pleased me. I didn't argue with him, though he looked at me as though he expected me to. "Aren't you at least worried that I'll try to take advantage of you?" he suddenly exclaimed. I looked at him in surprise. Should I be? Any normal woman would be. "After all you've done to help me," I said. "Maybe I was just saving you for myself." I watched him silently. "Why are you trying to make me afraid?" "You ought to be afraid. You ought to be afraid. A young woman stuck on board a ship full of hardened sailors. You wake up in the middle of the night to find me in your room. It's only the two of us, you know. And this is my cabin. If you scream, no one will come help, I assure you. You ought to at least have the sense to be afraid." "I have been afraid," I whispered. He did not respond, and there was silence. He sighed. "Forgive me, of course you have." There were sounds in the distance, the scraping of metal on wood, the murmur of voices. There were always noises on the ship, I realized. It was never silent. Always someone up, someone working, someone watching. Understanding suddenly dawned. The invented relationship. I see. What? You want everyone to believe we share a room. Another cabin, though it may have an available bed, is not an option. Brilliantly done. He began to roll over so he could go back to sleep. Well, then you should take the bed, I told him. I began to rise. Stay where you are, he demanded. But, Captain, I said stay before you open up that gash and get it bleeding again. But what about you? I said. I'm fine where I am, he muttered. I was quiet. Did you sleep there last night? I asked suddenly. He looked at me pointedly. Well, that's strange. I didn't know it. I came in after you were asleep. I left before you awoke. I watched him, my hands on either side of me as I perched on the edge of his small bed. You are... I struggled for a word. What? He said. I usually didn't have to struggle to find the right words. Perceptive. Sacrificing, I finished, and then added with a soft, embarrassed laugh. And yet, that's not quite it. I fingered the material on my nightdress, my nails short, my fingers unadorned. I reached up and I brushed a lock of hair away from my face. You're a good man, Captain, I told him. He turned to me in astonishment. I frowned. Is that the wrong term? The words are simple enough. Did it not translate? He shook his head impatiently. Of course I understood you. Then what is the confusion? I asked. He muttered. You are the strangest woman I have ever met. Everything a normal woman would do, you do the opposite. It makes you completely unpredictable, confusing, dangerous. I shifted as though to rise, but I settled back into my seat, unsure of what to do. I continued to watch the captain. I cannot describe the strange sensation that fluttered within me as I sat on the edge of the bed watching him. Something was different, and I couldn't quite put my finger on what it was. But I felt my relationship with the captain was somehow starting anew. I felt less confident, less self-assured. I didn't know why. I wanted to talk to him, to discover him. Examination, dissection, discovery. It was my business. I was good at it, but I didn't know how to do it here. Interviewing usually came to me easily, but not now. The process. Did it change me? Molecules, protons, neurons, manipulation of matter on near atomic levels? I was rearranged. Yeah, that was the only explanation. I was quiet for a moment. I envy you. Why? He said. Because you belong here. You're a perfect fit for your circumstances. He didn't answer me, though he made a sound between amusement and disagreement. You have this ship, I said. This ship, he scoffed. My eyes opened wide in surprise. Aren't you a success, then? Yes, he told me, the single word sounding a little hard. Well, how successful are you? I'm one of the leading mariners in Europe. It would have sounded boastful if there had been any pleasure in the words. How did you get your start? I asked. It was the sea that chose me, Miss Madeira, not the other way around. And what about you? He adroitly turned the conversation back to me. Me? What do you mean? Who are you? My work? I asked. There, you see, he said. Work. That's the first thing you say? Why shouldn't it be? I asked, confused. It was the first thing you said. No, it wasn't. It was the first thing you said, remember? You brought up my ship, not me. Besides, it's different for a woman. A woman values connection, people. What about friends, family? You said nothing of them. Who's missing you? I grew thoughtful again, looking past him without seeing anything. It was too dark to see anything. I finally said, I never found it worthwhile to cultivate those aspects of the human experience. Cultivate those aspects of the... You speak like you're from another world, he answered crossly, and I wonder why you didn't stay there as satisfied as you were. A woman does not belong on a ship. Do you believe me now? You are all alone and unprotected." I became very still. Those were the last words spoken for the night. He turned to his side and fell asleep, though I stayed awake and troubled for some time. On a different scale, I felt much like I did all those years ago after I had my dream and lost my life's work. It was torn from me, and I didn't belong anywhere anymore. I thought, I was so sure I had finally had a place, a purpose. And no reason, no study, nothing seemed to give me the answer now. I awoke and stretched, testing the wound at my side. Gingerly, I fingered the stitches, though I didn't look at them. I did not want to know what the wound looked like, even though it might have been educational. For the first time, my mind did not demand occupation and exertion. I just wanted to be still, safe and quiet under my warm blanket, in my warm bed, in my cool dark room with the door safely closed. How I longed for home. My small tidy dorm room with my little desk. They seemed terribly precious to me. What a fool I'd been to pursue this work. Headstrong, arrogant, and short-sighted. I hated this place. There was nothing for me here. I turned and found to my surprise the captain still on the floor. I'd assumed he would have been up already, working, an 18th century ship, a stern taskmaster, but there he was on his side facing me. His angled, chiseled face was flushed, and he trembled through the blanket. When he moved, he coughed. I rose stiffly, pain stabbing at my side if I wasn't careful. I touched his brow. "You're on fire," I said. He watched me with wide eyes, looking oddly like a child, his gaze distant and glazed. He touched the white gown I wore. "Mother?" he whispered. I stilled, a chill going through me. Not again. "I told you, I'm not your mother," I said slowly. He looked past me at something through the window, his face fearful. "He's coming." I turned. "Who?" The door suddenly opened and Finley hurried in, carrying in his hands a basin of water and a small vial, seeming not at all surprised to find the great captain in this condition. I began to go to him, but the captain snatched my arm and pulled me close. I stumbled into him. It jarred my wound, and I cried out in pain, "Captain, let me go!" I tried to pull away, but he held firm. He leaned forward and whispered, "He's coming. He's coming. Hide with me." "Who? Who's coming?" I said. "You won't let him kill you, Mother. Please. Please, Father's coming." I stilled in horror at his words, and then the strangest of all things happened. To my shock, I found my palm against his hot cheek. He clasped my hand. The words sprang from me instinctively. "He is not there. You are safe. Hush now. You are to sleep. Listen to Mother." It was like magic. The captain settled as though I cast a spell. His breathing calmed, his muscles relaxed, though he did not close his eyes. He watched me, still but uncertain. I think he suspected I was not really his mother, but he was willing to be fooled. I looked down in awe of the magic of my hand. The incantation sprang so spontaneously from my lips. Who was I? Finley was busy measuring the liquid in the vial. He put it into a small glass and added water. At first I didn't think he had heard what the captain had said, but when he turned back to me, something in his face told me that he had. He gave the medicine to the captain. While the captain drank it, his eyes never left me. "We must get him onto the bed," Finley directed. Together we half carried, half dragged the large man to the bed. I backed up, bumping into a table behind me, and my wound screamed at me. I cried out and pressed against my abdomen. I found a chair and collapsed into it. Finley looked at me, and our eyes met. "You all right?" he asked. "If you need to lie down, I can find another cabin for you if you give me a moment." "I think I'd prefer not to leave the captain," I said. You don't seem surprised to see him like this." "No, miss. He'd be prone to fevers, unfortunately." I looked at the captain, and he was asleep. Whatever Finley administered had quickly taken effect. "He'll sleep now," the first mate said. "But he be needin' watchin' for the next few days. He needs to be cooled, and he needs water." "I can do that," I said quickly. He looked uncertain. But you're wounded. It's not that serious. I just need to keep it quiet. Please, let me help you. He's done so much for me, and I'd like to help him. I must do it, Finley. On a molecular level, do you understand? Something compels me. He eyed me, confused. Very well, it will help, he said. He did look like an old man, stooped and tired, but always with that edge of nervousness. I can't be staying long, he said. We don't like the crew knowing of his condition. As long as I'm out there, it'll appear more normal. Feel free, please, I said. I will watch him. Show me the medicine and tell me the dose, and I shall follow your instructions perfectly, I assure you. Labs are my business. I don't understand ye, he said, but I'll show you what I do. I nodded as he spoke, absorbing everything. I would be sure not to make a single mistake. I fingered the bottle in my hand, my eyes falling on the white nightgown I wore, simple lace lining the edges. Did this dress belong to the captain's mother? I asked quietly. He looked at me, not surprised at the question. Aye, he answered. He thought I was her last night, I said, and then again this morning. I know, he said. I heard him. I'm not surprised. He hallucinates from his fevers. Why does he carry his mother's clothes on board? Finley would not look at me. It ain't my place to say, he said. I chewed my lip. He seems close. No, I correct myself. He seems tormented by her. Is it to stay intimate? A memento? I hesitated. Mr. Finley, did you know his mother? Aye. She was a fine woman, he said. His voice lowered and faded. Something was left unsaid. I knew his father, too. He was a good man. They're deceased? I asked. Yes. The dream, the memory the captain relives, comes from their deaths. How did they die? I asked. Their ship was attacked and taken by pirates. I was horrified. How traumatizing, I said. Early childhood trauma is a destructive force, and they were killed by the pirates? Finley hesitated. How did the captain survive? I asked. Others arrived in time, he answered. He'd be a boy then, and he saw horrible things. Oh my goodness, the psychological ramifications, I began, but I stopped. The words, they were correct, but I did not like the sound of them. Suddenly, a shout rang out from outside. A Jolly Roger! Finley sprang out of the door, and I followed him into the open air. I looked up to see a young sailor in a perch high over our heads. He was waving his arms at the first mate. Finley pulled a telescope from his belt and looked at the figure in the distance, and then, almost immediately, he relaxed and put his telescope away. He gave orders for the men to sail on, and soon the little dot disappeared over the horizon. A Jolly Roger? I asked. It means a pirate ship, Finley answered succinctly. Yes, I know what it means. Was that a pirate ship? His gray eyes didn't quite meet mine. Nay, he said. Wait a minute. I pulled on his sleeve and took the telescope from him. I only got a glimpse when he took it back and began to move away. I thought I saw a black flag. You didn't know. You didn't have the chance to see anything, he said. Still, I thought I saw... Forgive me, but you didn't. Everything looks black from a distance. I regarded him closely. Mr. Finley, you're lying to me. Why should I lie to ye? He asked with some exasperation. My hands on the wooden rail, the wind tugging at my skirts. My eyes were honed on him as he carefully avoided my gaze. Mr. Finley? I asked. I? He still did not face me. Why is Captain Tucker such a successful mariner? He answered immediately. He be bold, unafraid. He agrees to most anything, moved wherever cargo, through whatever waters, whatever the risk. Commissions know their captain dare touch. Captain Tucker makes his specialty. The Barbary Coast, I said. It was not a question. Often, yes, Finley answered. East India, the Caribbean. It be said in our circles that the storms steer around him, that he be born of the water, and the water takes care of her own. You sound very proud, almost like a parent. He took out a pipe and began to fill it. I suppose and I do view him like a son. No, no, not a son. I don't flatter myself, but I have known him these many years, and thank God on it. My eyes fell on the cross at Finley's neck. He was touching it again, and it angered me unreasonably. It was dark and heavy, and it reminded me of something before, something not long ago, that heavy cross swung against his chest as he let those awful men pass by him without raising a hand to stop them, knowing they were bent on hurting me. Why do you wear that cross? I had to ask him, my voice sharp. His hand fell to his side. It be me father's. Are you a religious man, Finley? His eyes were wary. I? Is that why you wear the cross? The interrogation, it was practical to more fully understand the mindset of the men I was studying, and I was comforted by the anticipation of soon going back to the cabin and writing my informative records again. They had been too long neglected. Now, however, I simply watched that dark, heavy cross around the first mate's neck, finding it mocking. There was meaning there, twisted and paradoxical, and I had to dissect it. Finley looked out at the ocean and ran his fingers through his short, cropped hair and then down his face. He finally answered, I wear it to remind me. Remind you of what? He struggled with what to say, and then he answered with a touch of impatience. Miss Madeira, surely you be understanding religion. Do you wear it to remind you of your sins? I asked snidely. Aye, he answered. It really cannot be a surprise that my insinuation was lost on him. To keep you comfortable and protected and guided, is that what you believe? He paused and then asked, What do you believe in, Miss Madeira? Facts, I answered aggressively. I believe in logic, in reason, the scientific method. I looked out into the ocean and continued. And I believe in the universe, in order, the elements, how they fit so very perfectly. You could pull them apart into 1,000,000 pieces, and they would find a place to fit again. I believe there is a sort of fate in evolution. There was a pause as he watched me, and then he said, You be making life sound mathematical, but there be things reasons can't explain. Not human reasoning, the most important things, I believe. A soul, a spirit, salvation, all that defies reason, and there be weakness and regret and damnation too. I replied pointedly, What do you regret, Mr. Finley? He looked away and said quietly, Many, many things. He touched his cross again.